So my dog Zella, she has kidney disease, and I've had to learn to give her sub-Q fluids at home. So I know a lot of you that are probably watching this video, you are either in the process of learning how, or you've been told by your vet that your dog needs to have sub-Q fluids for whatever reason on a weekly basis. And when I first learned that, I was a little bit intimidated. Okay, I was a lot intimidated by having to do sub-Q fluids on my dog. I had never done anything like that before, and I don't like needles. I don't like needles at all, and the needles are really sharp. But over the past couple of years, thanks to my good friend Melissa, shout out to Melissa Muncaster, who helped me get started and not be so afraid at home to do the sub-Q fluids on my dog, and Dr. Mike, who encouraged me, and it's not that hard. So today I'm going to show you how to get it started. And so one of the first things that I recommend that you do is to order one of these IV stands on Amazon. I'll put a link below so that you can check that. By the way, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to my channel so that you can get more videos like this. So the first thing, this was about $40. There are some that are cheaper. This one has wheels on it, so I can roll it from room to room, and it's got 2 hooks, which is nice because I'm only using one IV bag, but I can hang the cord over it if I'm going to only use part of a bag. So this is a little IV stand. I get my sub-Q fluids on Chewy. You do need a prescription, but that's okay. Your vet can affirm that. If you put your vet's name and the dog that you're going to be getting fluids for and everything, Chewy will contact your vet and they'll fill that prescription. I have an ongoing prescription with Chewy for these. These are about $10 a bag. Now Zella gets half a bag twice a week. So every 4th day or so, she gets 500 milliliters. Your dog may not be getting that much. You'll also need to, when you order that, you'll also need to get an infusion set for each bag. So you can I use these twice. So I just leave it plugged in, hang it up, and then 4 days later, I use it again. Your needles are super cheap. I got those on Chewy. Now, I used to get these on Chewy, but actually, if you shop around right now, Amazon has a little bit cheaper price. Well, actually, a lot cheaper price. These on Amazon, this last time I ordered, and we're talking, this is September 2024. These were about $4.50 for an infusion set. And I'll show you how to put that together here in a second. I got a box of 100 needles. These are 18 gauge, so they're really easy to use for a bigger dog. It depends on what size dog you have, the needles that you need to get. So you'll need to probably ask your vet about that, what kind of needles, what size of needles you need to get. So with that, let's get started. So as you can see, I've got my bag hanging up here where I can see the numbers on the front. And you might want to warm up your bag. I didn't know this to start with, but the bags of water can be kind of cool. So before you open the package to hang it up, you might want to run it under some warm water or some hot water just to get it warmed up, especially if your dog is very sensitive. Zella's not, and in fact, in the summertime, the cooler bag really helps cool her down. So it just depends on your dog, once again, how much you need to do warming that up. So I'm going to open the infusion set. And the first thing that you want to do is, this is the top with the little drip container here. And you've got a slide that controls how fast the solution comes out. Now, a lot of times the slide will be way too close to the needle. And you don't want to have it that close because you want to be able to control it. So what you want to do is open it all the way up and slide it to where you want it to be. I usually go about halfway with it so that I have control over it. This end is going to go in the dog. This end is going to go in the bag. And you want this to be about in the middle so that you have some control over the dripping and how fast the fluid goes in. Once you get this slide to where you want it, then you want to close it up all the way so it's really tight. Because when you stick this part into the bag that you're going to be using, it'll start dripping immediately. So with that being said, I'm going to hang that there for a second. I'm going to pull this off. This is sometimes a little tough to get into the bag, but you want to hold the bag as straight as possible so that when this goes in, it doesn't go in at an angle. It's got this little stopper in case you're going to take the drip line out and put a new one in, but you want to stop the fluids. You'll turn the bag over and put that in. I never use that because I use the bag twice. I do once, and then a few days later I do it again so that it goes completely empty. So I never pull this out, but there is that option in case you need to do that. So what we're going to do is hold this back with your thumb and work this into the bag. It takes a couple minutes because it's hard to push it through at first. You just got to give it a little grease power there to get it in. And you want it to go all the way up to basically the base of it. And when you get your drip bags and your line, you'll see what I'm talking about. But it goes all the way in as far as you can pull it up. Okay, so there we are. There it is, and you can see a little bit of the fluid has already started to drip into this container. The next thing you want to do is put your needle on. And you want to leave the protective cap on the needle until you're ready to put it on your dog, because it's super sharp. And trust me, you will poke yourself at some point with this needle. I have a couple of times, and it's super sharp and you bleed like a stuck pig. So make sure that you have a couple of paper towels on hand when you start doing this to begin with, because trust me, you don't want to have that blood going everywhere and you're trying to put this in your dog and it's just a mess. So leave the cap on till you're ready to go. Now, when you pull it out of the container, it's got an end that's ready to go right into the end of your drip line. So pull the drip line over here. The drip line has a little protective cap to keep it sterile. You pull that off and you want to stick your needle in really good and hard. There you go. And now we are ready to go. So I'm going to get my dog and we'll go from there. Okay, so now we're ready to get started, and I'm sitting here on the couch with Zella. She's used to this because she's been doing this for a couple of years. We've been doing our own sub-Q fluids, and I get comfortable. I take my potty break, get something to drink, and just sit on the couch. Now, if your dog is fighting it and they're kind of new at this, you might want to have some cookies on hand, that you want to give them a cookie, or you want to feed them a little bit of treats so that they see this as a positive experience and not as a negative one that they want to fight. She's been down that road. She's actually had a lot of treats to get started, and we did that in the beginning. Was we gave her treats as we were getting ready to do this so that she thought that it was okay, it was a positive experience, and not something that she had to be afraid of. So I've got the needle here, I've got the cap. I'm going to pull the cap off and make sure you don't touch it, because honestly, it is so freaking sharp, which is a good thing. You want it to be. Now, I was taught that you need to have the beveled side up. So if you look at the needle, and when you get yours, you'll see the needle has a little beveled edge on one side. So the beveled side up, and somehow that controls how the fluids go into the dog. What I do with Zella is I get her skin, feel her, and get a little bit of loose skin. Shake it out. Okay. We've got a little bit of loose skin here. You don't want to put it in the same place every time, because their skin eventually will get callous to it. So you want to make sure that you've got it kind of a little bit in different places. So every time I do it, I kind of find a different spot to put it in. And you don't want to hesitate. That's what a lot of people do, is they're so scared that they hesitate with the needle. And I've done that, been there, done that. So don't feel bad if you do, but get confident enough that you're going to just put it right in, because it's less painful on the dog. Once it goes in, they're fine. So we're going to find this spot, and we've got it here. You want to be careful not to get it in the muscle. That's why you're pulling the skin away from her muscle. So we're just going to pop it in, poof, like that. There it is. It's in. See how simple that was? Needle's in. I usually put my hand on it. There's no blood. Now I find my little controller that controls the drip line, and I'm going to start opening it up and watching the bag at the same time. So I'm going to pull my bag over here so you guys can see. So I've got this where you can kind of see it, and I'm starting the drip, and I want it to go about medium, about like that. So it's going to depend on your dog how fast you want the drip to go. Okay, so now that we've got it, the drip running and everything's in place, the needle's in, and we're going steady with the drip. You want to watch the drip and see how it goes in, because you may need to adjust the needle a little bit one way or another. Don't pull it out, because you'll have a mess everywhere. And we want it to go in at a medium drip, and hopefully you got to see that a second ago. But just, it depends on how much fluid you're giving your dog. Once again, you'll get the hang of it. Don't despair, because you'll get the hang of it. It took me a while actually to get the hang of it, which is why I decided to do this video, because so many people are having to do this with their pets. If they have a health issue like a kidney disease, especially if they're older. She's only 6.5, but she was born with a kidney disorder. So that's why we have to do this on her. And like I said, she's so used to it now. She relaxes. She just goes to sleep, usually while she's sitting here with me. And we just let it drip away. And there it goes. Okay, so it took about 30 minutes for this to totally run through to 5 milliliters, which is what she gets every 4 days or so. One of the things you guys want to remember when you are done with your sub-Q fluids is the first thing is to shut your roller off. Roll this till it's closed. So we had it white, we had it open for it to drip. Now you want to close it, because if you don't close this, when you pull the needle out, water will continue to shoot through and it'll be everywhere. So you don't want to do that. And what I typically do is I close it and I wait for a little bit, not a long time, but maybe a minute or two before I pull the needle out. Because here's what's going to happen. Everything that's in this line already, when it's been dripping, is going to continue to run through, okay? So once you've closed it off, everything that's below the little wheel is going to be still running. So you want to make sure that you let it have a few seconds to kind of get done. That way, when you pull it out, you have less of a chance of all the fluids going all over the place. And you want to have your cap ready, because you're going to put this back on your needle as soon as you pull it out. So I'm going to take the needle out. And one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold the area where I take the needle out. Once I take it out, I'm going to pinch it with my fingers. And, you know, since it's a loose skin, you're going to pinch it a little tight so that it kind of, the skin kind of seals off. You might have a little bit of blood to start with, but typically you don't, especially if you just pull it right out and you've had it in the fluid. There'll be a little bit of fluid drippage, but so this is what I typically do, and hopefully you can see that from here. I don't have a close-up on it, but we're kind of going to zoom in a little bit maybe. Okay. All right, so we're pulling the needle out. I'm going to pinch the hole where the needle came out with my fingers. So I'm holding it with this hand, and I've got the needle out here. All right, so now I want to put the cap on this needle, and I'm going to hold this for a second because I'm going to shake that down and just hold that shut so that we don't have fluid leaking out that we just put in. So you'll see there's a big bubble on her skin, and that'll dissipate fairly quickly. Once she gets up and starts moving around, it'll go away. It doesn't take very long. So we've got that. All right, putting the cap back on the needle. Careful there that you don't poke yourself. All right, and that's it. That's it. That's all there is to it. So if you have any questions, please drop me a note, send me something, an email or whatever. I'll be happy to tell you what I know, which I'm not a vet tech or a vet. So take that for what it's worth. But I've learned how to do this because it's so much better to have her getting this fluid at home instead of having to take her and drop her off at the vet. And it's a lot more expensive to do that as well. And it's stressful on your dog to have to leave him all the time and have someone else do that as well. So don't be afraid. You're going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. It's a kind of a learning curve. And once you get the hang of it, it's not such a big deal. and once your dog gets used to it as well. If you have a dog that squirms around a lot and you're just getting started, you might want to have a friend, so 2 people. So someone to hold the dog and calm them. Like I said, giving them treats, that kind of helps. We started doing this in one of the guest bathrooms in my house because she was so squirmy to start with. And my friend Melissa and I, it took 2 of us to get her to go through it. But once we got the needle in and she started getting used to the idea, then we could move to a more comfortable location. So as you can see, we're sitting on the couch. I just turn on the TV or I grab my laptop and do some work while I'm sitting here. It usually takes about 30 minutes to get through what she has to have, and then we're done. And like you can see, she's obviously not traumatized or stressed by it. She's just kind of chillaxing right now. She will get the zoomies here in a bit and run it off, but that's all it takes. So once again, there's some links for where I get my fluids and my drip lines right now. Some other stuff that might be of interest to you, some treats that I give her. She gets wheat-free treats, by the way. So like and subscribe to my channel. We're going to be talking about some grooming tools in the near future, and we may even have a guest or 2 to help us out with that. Thanks for watching.